Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm ForClassic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have needed is Star Wars Squadrons, a game developed by Motive Studios and using Unreal Engine, Frostbite free engine. And I'm currently trying to run this game decently on the GT 740M, which is pretty much equivalent to a GT 920M or the GT 825M. And I was getting an error at startup asking to update the GPU drivers from this graphic card, but the thing is, Nvidia doesn't really provide drivers since pretty much more than 1 year ago. Kepler architecture was abandoned, and so there is no way to update drivers. But anyway, I was able to start the game, which I will explain a little bit more forward how I have done it. But first, let's start with the requirements. So they ask for an i5 from the 6000 generation, which obviously we don't meet these requirements over here. 8 gigs of RAM, which we have. And they also do require a GTX 660, which is obviously much more powerful than the GT 740M. So despite I was below the minimum requirements, I decided to give it a try and see how it does perform. And so I started with 720p using the low settings, I mean the minimum settings in fact. So with 50% of resolution scaling, the performance wasn't really bad, so I got an average of 61 frames per second with 1% low. But the issue with 50% of resolution scaling at 720p is that all the stuff gets really blurred, so it's hard to distinguish from. So because of that, I decided to go with 75% of resolution scaling, and by doing that, what I got, it was an experience overall above 30 frames per second with minimums of 32 and average of 42. So the trick that you have to trick the game into thinking that you have the most recent driver, you need to go to your Windows folder, alright, and you need to search for the System32 folder. So after you are in here, you need to find a DLL file called NVAPI, which is an API that Nvidia have on the System32. So you can search in the search bar of the Windows Explorer. You just write NVAPI, and you should be able to find the NVAPI 64.dll inside the System32 folder. The only thing you need to do is to rename this DLL file to anything that you want. I decided to put "get the fuck out" because I don't want that to be in here. Keep in mind that I'm not really sure what are the consequences of doing that, but it did work for this game by renaming that file. The game didn't ask me to update my drivers again, and I was able to start, and as you can see, I'm actually playing the game. Now, the issue with this game is that I'm suffering from big stuttering in game, and I'm not really sure if the cause of this it is really from the game, because from the game itself and not related with the hardware, because I've seen many people complaining about stuttering on this game. Some people even have some fixes. If you can sustain 60 frames per second and you enable VSync, the game gets smooth. But since we don't get 60 frames per second on this game, there is no way of getting rid of the stuttering. But still, there is really something wrong. I'm pretty sure that the Motive Studios already are aware of this issue, and probably it will be fixed on the future. But until then, you get some weird stuttering going on. It's like the game hangs for 1 second, but the weird part is that the MS Afterburner doesn't really detect that stuttering, so it's like the network just stopped for 1 second. So it might be a server issue from their side and not an issue from our end. But the thing is, there is really something going on with this game. I've noticed this on this laptop. I've noticed this on my MX 130 laptop. I've noticed it a little bit on my desktop too. So this stuttering happening might not be computer related, might be server issues. Alright, that's the thing that you should know. So the thing is, for this game is that you can actually run the game. But again, using that tweak of renaming NVAPI, I'm not really sure the consequences that this will bring. Also, I'm not also sure if this also disables the notification for updating drivers on other games. Like for example, Hyperscape, we weren't able to start the game because of that demanding for new drivers message, and I'm not really sure if this works right now, because I just discovered this yesterday, the way to get around of this. I didn't try it for Hyperscape though, but if this works, if this fix works of renaming the NVIDIA API, if this works for more games, it means that we have a lot of games to test, because there were at least 2 or 3 games that I'm pretty sure that I haven't tried because of that forced update driver message. Alright, so guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about the performance of Star Wars Squadrons. So, but I mean, what about the game? This is an EA game, alright, and probably it is full of microtransactions, right? Well, in fact, it is not. That's the surprising part. EA games have been known for all these years because of having multiple microtransactions on Star Wars games and stuff like that. And in fact, at least at the moment of this video, there is no microtransaction. I wouldn't be shocked if they added microtransactions along the line, like in some couple of months or something. I wouldn't be surprised, and that thing would be a very, very bad move for the EA, but I wouldn't be surprised since they are kind of those type of guys that do that. But still, at the moment, no microtransactions. All the stuff that you unlock, skins and I would say probably perks, stuff that you unlock are all unlocked by playing the game and not by paying more for the game, which is something really strange for EA games, but that's very nice. Also, the game, it doesn't really have a full price launch, so instead of costing like $50 or $60, it costs $40. If you live in Europe, it is 40 euros. So I think it's a nice price indeed. And also, despite this game have multiplayer, which it is what I'm using in here. I'm using the regular dogfight, which is pretty much 5 against 5. There is still a fleet thing where you need to destroy the fleet ship of the enemy, and the enemy needs to destroy your fleet ship. I mean, there is also a story mode, which some of the people on Steam really say it is a little bit boring, doesn't really add anything, then that the AI, it is dumb as hell. But still, there is a story mode which should take up for you to you know, to have gameplay of 7 to 10 hours. So I'm using gamepad in here. Not all the people are really keen to play with a gamepad on this game. Some people do recommend mouse and keyboard. Some other people say that it is impossible to play with mouse and keyboard. I myself had a little bit trouble to adapt to play with the gamepad. I had to make a lot of changes on the key mappings of the game. The good thing is that it allowed me to select every key of the gamepad. Not all the games let you customize that, but it does allow to customize that. So it is fine, just play the way that you want. It would be great. This game have a lot of different levels of difficulty, so you can select and adjust, but it can be a little bit tough. So this game have a lot of ships which you can select. They work as squads, no, classes I mean. So each ship have its own abilities or speed or resistance or power. So it's a little bit like classes on Battlefield. So each one have its own ability or perk. The same thing goes to this game, but for the ships or the, you know, this. Each one also you can customize the way that you drive the ships. For example, you can bump up more speed into the ship in the middle of the fight, as well as enable more resistance, like a shield or something to prevent from receiving too much damage. But when you choose each type of stuff on fly, you are kind of getting also disadvantages. For example, when you select speed, you don't have enough resistance. When you select like resistance, you don't get enough speed. Your ship gets hard to control. You can customize every stuff in on fly by pressing some sort of keys. There are lock-on attacks which acts as missiles. You also have the flares to disperse the missiles. And yeah, it's a quite interesting game, and so far what I have tried, it worked pretty well. So despite the Steam reception, it is not being great because not all the people are satisfied with the game. The complaints are mostly relatable with the maps. Some maps are too empty. Some other people complains about balance. I'm not really so sure about that, but about the maps I have to agree. There are maps that doesn't have anything. This one that I'm playing in here at the moment, it is amazing. It is a nice map where you need to perform awesome maneuvers. It's a very interesting map, but many other maps are just nothing at all. It's just an empty space with a skybox and nothing at all to offer. Alright, so yeah, I have to agree on that. But apart from that, I think the game works pretty great, and the critics have been giving this game the score of 81, so I would say that it is perfectly fine. And if you enjoy Star Wars and dogfighting style, this game, it is completely mandatory for you. Alright guys, so guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about Star Wars Squadrons. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
I hope they're ready. They've locked on. Can't believe they fired a missile. Take it out.
Our reserves are low. Do not let the New Republic win. Shake that tail, Titan 2.
Enemy locked on. Let's do this, Titan.